Morning media. We are now joined by UCLA coach Cori. Welcome to the Eastern Time Zone. And we'll start with questions. Thank you. Right here first.
Ben Balch, Los Angeles Times. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
You have a very welcoming, sunny disposition. In fact, we heard you coming down the hallway here. What do you attribute that to? What are the roots of that? Why is that important to you? And do you feel like it rubs off on your team?
Well, I don't know. I think it's more for my protection of my own heart, but I just, believe that gratitude is a really big deal. And I just think I have, I think if you want things to be great in your life, be thankful for more. And I just think that I have so much to be thankful for. So I think it's rooted in, I feel like I've received much more than I deserve, and I'm living something that I love, that I get to compete with purpose and impact people's hearts in the process. So I don't have a lot to complain about.
Hey, Coach. Doug Feinberg, the AP.
Hi, Doug.
Nice to see you. Two-part question. First one is, you see the four teams that are in this little region here, and obviously you're only playing one, but you see the bigger picture, I'm sure, of like how good it is for women's basketball having this group here, and then microcosm-wise, the team you're playing next, LSU, just your thoughts on them.
Well, I think just it's not even the four teams as much as it is been the entire tournament. This is my 31st year of Division I coaching, and I've never seen a bracket that had more competitive first and second round games. Just across the board. Obviously, being in this one, this particular region has a star-studded cast, ones that we're very familiar with. But that are growing basketball nationally in their towns, even globally. So it's just an honor to be a part of such a group of people that are changing something that will be a legacy long past this tournament. Obviously with LSU, that Kim Mulkey is a proven winner. She's done a great job wherever she's been from a winning championships perspective. We couldn't be any more opposite in terms of the way we approach the game, but we two are probably the two best rebounding teams in the entire tournament. So I think honestly the game will come in large part down to that. But I really respect the job that Kim has done. Obviously they winning the national championship last year. Much respect, but we're not playing that team, and we're not playing individual rosters. The best team, I think, the most connected team, the most purposeful team, the most aggressive team, they're going to win. And I don't care what the letters are across the front of your chest. It's just going to be a matter of who does it together.
Hey, Cori. Howard Magdal.
Hello, Howard.
Good to see you. Two, if I could, on the specifics of the game coming up. The first, obviously, you talked about different ways of getting there. Pace seems to be a major differentiator. How do you go about emphasizing that to your team? How important is that? And then just another one on individual.
Well, I don't know what their pace of play is. I know they're most effective, which is different than some other teams that I've seen of past LSU teams or past Baylor teams. They definitely are their most effective when they're able to attack in transition. I think the analytics said it was 22% of their scoring possessions. It's a high percentage. So obviously a big emphasis for us is transition D, but the best transition D you can have is to be really efficient offensively. And so for us to control the offensive glass, to get really high quality, predictable shots, those are going to be important things in terms of controlling the pace. I think both of us are really comfortable, playing fast. I think for us, we use it offensively to be able to, get the ball to Lauren Betts before double teams happen. So from an offensive perspective, I think, they use it, before we can pack the paint and really control that. And so it's a little bit different, and they attack it more off the bounce and versatility that way. But I think pace of play, maybe not as important as being able to play to your team's identity.
Just related to that, and you talked a little bit about it in your answer, but just Lauren being somebody who you try to get transition opportunities. How much is there overlap with the way, say, South Carolina uses Camila Cardozo against LSU? Are there ways that you can learn from that, even though I know
Absolutely.
you obviously do differently?
Yeah, I think we really have a lot more similarities between us and South Carolina this year than in previous years. But I think that, yes, I mean, I've watched both those games and, seeing how they were able to move Cardozo around, get her touches in certain ways while still being able to create great opportunities for their guard play, for them, Pow and, Wiley. And, it's just we do have some similarities. I think the biggest thing is how are you going to double team, or are you going to go with single coverage? And so I think those are things that every team all year long has done a little bit differently. And so I think we're getting pretty good at, okay, if they do it this way, then we're going to go about it this way. I think the most important thing is not losing track of Lauren. It's not that Lauren has to shoot it, but we are 13 percentage points better in our shooting percentage when she touches it on the possession. And so it's really important that we get her touches and try to play through that. And it really just creates things for other people as well.
Hey, Cori, Chantel Jennings with
Hi,
The Athletic.
Chantel.
Hi. Kind of a big picture question for you. With moving into the Big Ten next year, your guys' national TV schedule is going to look a lot different than it did in the Pac-12 with the Pac-12 networks and obviously the distribution issues there. How important is it for these teams to be on national platforms, not just for the growth of the game, but for particular players to sort of grow, to have many stars within the game, to have those players on those games?
Well, the big advantage we have in the women's game, right, is that they stay for 4 years. And obviously in our current era, sometimes 5, sometimes 6, depending on what we are dealing with according to the pandemic. But so there's a lot of levels to that, right? I do think it's really important for the growth of our game, but it's accentuated because people can develop relationships. I think that's why the interest level, not only do we have some great stars, but they have stayed and developed connections with the fan bases. People not only in their local vicinity, but also nationally have built this, they're rooting for them. They're not just rooting for their performance on the court, but for their journey and for their growth and seeing their maturation. And that's sort of, we're really benefiting that we have some great growth trajectory for our game. We have some great stars, and it's sort of still the purity part. We don't have the one and dones. We don't have that. But the other side of that coin and the level that we're growing is it's also really important for having these young people be able to maximize their opportunities and entrepreneurs with name, image, and likeness. The more eyeballs on it, the more TV revenue comes from media rights deals, the more that they're able to grow, the more valuable they are in brand ambassadorship kinds of opportunities. And so that's just a part of our business now. And so there's sort of a it's a good news. I wouldn't even say it's a good news, bad news. It's a good news, different news, because there are different things pulling on the agendas of the sport now. But I think we can turn that into opportunity, especially for women. I've had more conversations with our women in the last 2 years about planning for their futures and investing and taxes and, all the different things that I'm not just sure that we've culturally been brought up to think about in the same way, and we're having an opportunity to do so. But to answer your question, it's very important. I think national eyeballs on our sport is incredibly important right now, and it's incredibly important that corporations and media rights deals follow that trajectory.
Ben Pickman from The Athletic, Cori.
Hello there.
2 questions kind of on approach. I guess for you personally, you've coached in a Sweet 16 game in Albany before, I guess,
have.
just a couple of years ago. Is there anything you learned from that experience going west to east in terms of preparation, time zone adjustment that you can now apply here that you're changing up differently? And then for your team in particular, obviously, that group has not played in this Sweet 16 game in Albany, but from last year to this year, have you noticed any kind of change in approach, mindset, something like that in the lead up to this one?
Well, I think that it's very different because last time we were here, we were a 7 seed. We played at Maryland, so we stayed on the East Coast the entire time. So it was a very different situation. We actually we played 4 East Coast swings in a row in December, and so end of November and into December, and so but it was interesting because you have a lot more control of your travel, and so we were 2.5 hours late last night, so I've got some red eyes and those kinds of things. So, but I just think the reality is that, I mean, we're playing in the Sweet 16. We got a chance to, do amazing things, and so I'm not going to let 2.5 hours, get in the way of that. So, I just think, it's a reality, and if you're focused on things that are out of your control, as Coach Wooden would say, it will adversely affect the things that are under your control. So, that's part of sports and life, and the tougher, more together team wins, and I'm not going to let something like travel get in the way. I do think that's a reality, and we really do try to plan strategically for how we travel, how we sleep, how we hydrate, all of those things. We've even been doing studies leading up to our joining the Big Ten of what was going to be the right competitive travel schedule as we do take East Coast trips. So we are very strategic, but I also have to acknowledge that not everything's going to go the way you plan, and our job is to make the best of whatever we've got.
Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. But sort of as a follow-up to that, I know you'd
Sure.
hoped to be in Portland in this round, and Tara made comments yesterday that maybe it's time to reconsider the 2 regional format in one location. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that and felt that that should be reevaluated, or if you like the way that it's played out.
Well, I think this is only our second year, so I think it's too early to make those kinds of decisions. It'll be interesting to ask Tara what she thinks about it after. She didn't play in that piece last year, and obviously Tara is the best, and so her opinion really matters, and how that she's experienced the growth of this game. So I would definitely listen to her comments, but I just think in anything we have to see it play out a little bit and see what happens. So there's definitely difficult pieces. We happen to be in the same hotel as Oregon State, and when you have so many teams going across the country, how it affects fan bases and, different things. I think over a little bit of time, we'll have to track that and be strategic about it. But I think it's too early to have a definitive opinion.
Last one.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Cori, can you give a sense of where you think the conversation is about tournament units for the women's tournament?
It's got to happen. It's got to happen sooner rather than later. If we're going to ride this wave of growth and trajectory, I know that President Baker has, said he is committed, I think is the word he used, to integrating units into our game. But I think that if there's no teeth in all this growth, if that isn't coming back to the conferences and then to the universities. You have to, why would, a university president or an athletics director invest back in women to the same equitable amount that you're investing back in men when men get a unit share for this particular tournament and women don't? It's not that, I don't think it's intentional. I'm not crying that we're so disadvantaged, but I just think when the trajectory has gone, that if we really care about investing in the trajectory of where the business model is showing we should across all women's sports, not just women's basketball, it needs to happen immediately. I just think we just signed a major deal with ESPN that obviously gives it more teeth without question. I wonder even now that when you look at how well the tournament is doing, how everything, the attendance is going up, that maybe that could be negotiated even quicker. But I think that corporate sponsorships need to be opened up to allow for even better unit distribution and financial implications for the NCAA. We don't want to be a drain. We want to be an increased asset for the NCAA. We want to be something that's like, man, you need more alternative income sources. Well, we want to be that. And so it's not something we want to take away, but add to expand the pie.
Thank you for your time this morning, Coach.
Thank you all. You're a big part of growing our game, so thank you.
We'll be joined by the student athletes in a few moments.